Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel again. I usually do jokes, sometimes a teaching story, and today I thought I might read it's actually a fairy tale from the Brothers Grimm, and it's probably one you might have heard before. I know growing up I've read it myself and had it read to me by my mom and sisters, and but I think it's actually quite a profound story, even though it's a fairy tale. It was probably written for children. It is a teaching story in itself. Certainly, very wealthy people, people that seek power, could benefit from the story. But anyway, before I even start, let me just ask you, if you would, please like and subscribe, if you would, because it would really help me and help my efforts to do more of these. But anyway, here is the story. I hope I read it in a way you'll like. But it's called The Fisherman and His Wife by the Brothers Grimm. And there was once upon a time a fisherman who lived with his wife in a hovel, a pigsty close by the sea. And every day he went out fishing to fish for a living and to eat. And he fished and he fished. And once he was sitting with his rod one day looking at the clear water, his line suddenly went down, far down below. And when he drew it up again, he brought out a very large flounder. And the flounder, as he went to pull it in, spoke to him. And the flounder said, "Hark, fisherman, I pray, please let me live. I am not really a flounder, but an enchanted prince. What good will it do you to kill me? I should not be good to eat. Please put me in the water again and let me go." "Oh, come," said the fisherman. "There's no need for so many words about it, fish. If you can talk, I should certainly let you go anyhow." And so with that, he put him back again into the clear water, and the flounder went to the bottom, leaving behind him a long streak of blood. And then the fisherman got up, and he went home to his wife in the pigsty. "Husband," said the woman, "have you caught nothing today?" "No," said the man. "Well, I did catch a flounder, and he said he was an enchanted prince, and he spoke, so I let him go again." "Oh, you fool," said the woman. "Did you not wish for anything first?" "No," said the man. What should I wish for?" "Ah," said the woman, "it's surely hard to have to live in a pigsty such as this, which stinks and it's disgusting. You might have wished for a little hut for us at least. Go back and call him. Tell him we want to have a little hut. He will certainly give us that." "Ah," said the fisherman, "but why should I go there again?" "Why," said the woman, "you did catch him, and you let him go again. He surely owes us something. Go at once." The man still did not quite like to go out, but he did not like to oppose his wife either, and so he went to the sea. When he got there, the sea was all green and yellow, and no longer so smooth. So he stood still and said, "Flounder, flounder in the sea, come, I pray thee, here to me, for my wife, good Ilsebil, wills not as I would have her will." And then the flounder came swimming up to him and said, "What does she want then?" "Ah," said the man, "I did catch you, and my wife says that I really ought to have wished for something. She does not like to live in a pigsty any longer. She would like to have a little hut." "Go then," said the flounder. "She has it already." And when the man went home, his wife was no longer in the sty, but instead there stood a hut, and she was sitting on a bench before the door. Then she took him by the hand, and she said to him, "Just come inside. Look now, isn't this a great little deal better?" So they went in, and there was a small porch, and a pretty little parlor, and a bedroom, and a kitchen, and a pantry, with the best of furniture, and fitted out with the most beautiful things made of tin and brass, whatsoever was wanted. And behind the hut there was a small yard, with hens and ducks, and a little garden with flowers and fruit. "Look," said the woman, "is this not nice?" "Oh, yes," said the husband. And so it shall remain. We will now live quite contented." Well, we'll think about that, said the wife. And with that, they ate something and they went to bed. Everything went well for a week, and then the woman said, "Hark, husband, this hut is just too small for us, and the garden and yard are very little. That flounder might just as well have given us a larger house. I should like to live in a great stone castle, in fact. Go to that flounder and tell him to give us a castle." "What?" Said the man, "This hut is quite good enough. Why should we have to live in a castle?" "What?" said the woman. Just go there. The flounder can always do that for us." "No, wife," said the man. "That flounder has given us this hut, and it's a very good one. I would not like to go back and so soon. It might make him angry." "Go now," said the woman. "He can do it quite easily, and will be glad to do it for us. Just you go to him now." The man's heart was heavy, and he did not want to go. He said to himself, "It's not right," and yet he went anyway. And when he came to the sea, the water was quite purple and dark blue and gray and thick and no longer so green and yellow. And he stood there and he said, "Flounder, flounder in the sea, come, I pray thee, here to me, for my good wife Ilsabil wills not as I would have her will." "What does she want now?" said the flounder as he swam up. "Alas," said the man, half scared, hearing the fish's voice, "she wants to live in a great stone castle." "Go to it then. She's standing before the door of it," said the flounder. Then the man went down and away, intending to go home. And when he got there, he found a great stone palace, and his wife was standing on the steps before it going in. And she took him by the hand and she said, "Come on in." And so he went in with her, and in the castle was a great hall paved with marble and many servants, and the servants flung wide the doors, and the walls were all bright with beautiful hangings and pictures, and in the rooms were chairs and tables of pure gold. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, and all the rooms and bedrooms had carpets, and food and wine of the very best standing by the tables, so weighted down that they nearly broke beneath it. Behind the house, too, there was a great courtyard with stables for horses and cows and the very best of carriages. There was a magnificent large garden, too, with the most beautiful flowers and fruit trees, and a park quite half a mile long, in which there were stags and deer and hares and everything that could be desired. "Come," said the woman, "isn't this beautiful now?" "Yes, indeed," said the man. "Now let it be, and we will live in this beautiful castle and be content now." "We will consider it," said the woman, and we will sleep upon it." And thereupon they went to bed. The next morning the wife awoke, and it was just daybreak, and from her bed she saw the beautiful country lying before her. Her husband was stretching himself, so she poked him in the side with her elbow, and she said, "Get up, husband, and just peep out that window. Look, couldn't we become king over all that land? Go to the flounder now and ask him if we will be king." "Ah, wife," said the man, "why should we be king? I don't want to be king." "Well," said the wife, "if you won't be king, I will. Go to the flounder and ask him if I will be queen." "Ah," said the man, "why do you want to be king? I would not like to say that to him." "Why not?" said the woman. "Go to him this instant. I must be king, and you did save him." So the man went, and he was quite unhappy because his wife wished to be king. "It is not right. It is not right," he thought. He did not want to go, and yet he went. And when he came to the sea, it was quite dark gray, and the water heaved up from below and smelt putrid. Then he went and stood by it, and he said, "Flounder, flounder in the sea, come, I pray thee, here to me, for my wife, good Ilsabil, wills not as I would have her will." "What does she want now?" said the flounder. "Alas," said the man, "she wants to be the queen." "Go to her. She is queen already." And so the man went, and when he came to the place, the castle had become larger and had a great tower and magnificent ornaments, and the sentinels were standing before the door, and there were a number of soldiers with kettle drums and trumpets. And when he went inside the house, everything was of marble and gold, velvet covers and golden tassels everywhere. And the doors of the hall were opened, and there in the court in all its splendor, and his wife was sitting on a high throne of gold and diamonds, with a great crown of gold upon her head, and a scepter of pure gold and jewels in her hand. And on both sides of her stood her maids in waiting in a row, each of them always one head shorter than the rest. And then he went and stood before her, and he said, "Ah, wife, so now you are queen." "Yes," said the woman, "I am queen." As he stood and looked at her, and when he looked at her thus for some time, he said, "And now that you are queen, let all else be, for we shall wish for nothing more, wife." "No, husband," said the woman quite anxiously, "I find time passes heavily. I can bear it no longer. Go to the flounder. Yes, I am queen, but I must be emperor also." "Oh, my wife, why do you wish to be emperor?" "Husband," said she, "go to the flounder. I'll be emperor." "Alas, wife," said the man, "he cannot make you an emperor." "I may not say that to the fish. There is only one emperor in this land. An emperor of the flounder cannot make you. I assure you he cannot." "What?" said the woman. "I am king, and you are nothing but my husband. Will you go before this moment? Go at once. If he can make me a queen, he can make me an emperor. I will be an emperor. Go instantly." And so he was forced to go. As the man went, however, he was troubled in his mind and body, and he thought to himself, "This will not end well. It will not end well, I know. An emperor is too shameless. The flounder will at last be tired of me." And with that he reached the sea, and the sea was black and thick, and it began to boil up from below, so that it threw up bubbles, and such a sharp wind blew over it that it curdled, and the man was quite afraid. And he went and stood by it, and he said, "Flounder, flounder in the sea, come, I pray thee, here to me, for my wife, good Ilsebil, wills not as I would have her will." "What does she want now?" said the flounder. And he could see the flounder was quite angry. "Alas, flounder," said he, "my wife now wants to be emperor." "Go to her," said the flounder. "She is emperor already." And so the man went, and when he got there, the whole palace was now made of polished marble, with alabaster figurines and golden ornaments, and soldiers in great number were marching before the door, blowing trumpets and beating cymbals and drums. And in the house, barons and counts and dukes were going about and acting almost as servants. Then they opened the doors to him, and they were of pure gold. And when he entered, there sat his wife on a greater throne, which was made of one piece of gold, and almost looking like it was a miles high. And she wore a great golden crown that was 3 yards high and set with diamonds and carbuncles. And in one hand she had the scepter, and in the other the imperial orb. And on both sides of her stood the yeomen of the guard in 2 rows, each being smaller than the one before him. And from the biggest giant, who was 2 miles high, it seemed, to the very small dwarf, just as big as my little finger, and there it stood, a number of princes and dukes. And then the man went and stood among them, and he said, "Wife, are you emperor now?" "Yes," said she, "I am now an emperor." Then he stood and looked at her well, and when he had looked at her thus for some time, he said, "Wife, you must be content now that you are an emperor." "Husband," said she, "why are you standing here? Now I am an emperor, but I have thought about it, and I would like to be pope too. So go back to the flounder." "Wife," said the man, "what will you wish for now? You cannot be pope. There is but one in all of Christendom. He cannot make you the pope." "Husband," said she, "I will be the pope. Go immediately. I must be pope this very day." "No, wife, I do not like to say that to him. He will be quite angry. That would not do. It's too much. The flounder cannot make you the pope." "Husband, what nonsense. If he can make me an emperor, then he can make me the pope. Go to him directly. I am an emperor, and you are nothing. You are but my husband. You will go at once." He was afraid, and he went anyway. But he was quite faint, and he shivered and shook, and his knees and legs trembled. And a high wind blew over the land, and the clouds flew, and towards evening all grew dark, and the leaves fell from the trees, and the water rose and roared as if it was boiling and splashed upon the shore. And in the distance he saw ships which were firing guns in their sore need, pitching and tossing on the waves. And yet in the midst of the sky there was a small patch of blue, though on every side it was as red as a heavy storm. So full of despair, he went and stood in much fear, and he said, Flounder, flounder in the sea, come, I pray thee, hear to me, for my wife, good Ilsebil, wills not as I would have her will. What does she want now? Said the flounder. Alas, said the man, she wants to be the Pope. The flounder, of course, was quite angry, but he said, go to her then. She is Pope already. And so he went, and when he got there, he saw what seemed to be a large church by the palace and surrounded by walls. He pushed through the crowd. Inside, however, everything was lighted up with thousands and thousands of candles. And his wife was clad in gold, and she was sitting on a much higher throne, and had 3 great golden crowns on. And round about her there was an ecclesiastical splendor, and on both sides of her were rows of candles, the largest of which was as tall as a tower, down to a very small kitchen candle. And all the emperors and kings were on their knees before her, kissing her shoes. Wife, said the man, as he looked attentively at her, you are now Pope. Yes, she said, I am the Pope. So he stood and he looked at her, and it was just as if he was looking at the bright sun. When he stood looking at her thus for a short time, he said, Wife, you are Pope. Do it well alone and not ask me anything more. But she looked as stiff as a post, and she did not move or show any signs of life. And then he said, Wife, now that you are Pope, please be satisfied. You cannot become anything greater now. I will consider it, said the woman. And thereupon they went to bed. And a day or 2 passed, but she was still not satisfied, and greediness let her have no sleep, for she was continually thinking what left was there for her to be, and she wanted more. The man slept well and soundly, for he had run about a great deal during the day, but the woman could not fall asleep at all, and she flung herself from one side to the other the whole night through, thinking always what more was left for her to become. But unable to call to mind anything else, at length the sun began to rise, and when the woman saw the red of the dawn, she stood up in bed, and she looked at it through the window and saw the sun rising, and said, Cannot I too order the sun and the moon to rise or fall? Husband, she said, poking him in the ribs with her elbows, wake up, go back to that flounder, for now I wish to be even as God is. The man was still half asleep, but when he awoke, he was so horrified he fell out of bed. He thought he must have heard her incorrectly, and he rubbed his eyes and he said, Wife, what are you saying? Husband, she said, if I can't order the sun and the moon to rise, and have to look on the sun and moon rising, I cannot bear it. I shall not know what it is to have another happy hour unless I can make them rise myself. Then she looked at him so terribly that a shudder ran over him, and said, Go at once. I wish to be like unto God. Alas, wife, said the man, falling on his knees before her, the flounder cannot do that. He can make you an emperor and a pope, I guess. I beseech you, though, go on as you are and be Pope. Then she fell into a rage, and her hair flew wildly about her head. She tore open her bodice. She kicked him with her foot, and she screamed, I can't stand it. I tell you, I can't stand it any longer. Will you go this instant? He finally put on his trousers, and he ran away like a madman. But outside, a great storm was raging and blowing so hard that he could scarcely keep on his feet. Houses and trees toppled over. The mountains were trembling. Rocks rolled into the sea. The sky was pitch black, and it thundered and lightning. And the sea came in, and black waves as high as church towers and mountains, and all the crests of white foam at the top crashed. Then he cried, but he could not hear his own words even. Flounder, flounder in the sea, come, I pray thee, hear to me. For my wife, good Ilsebil, wills not as I would have her will. Okay, what does she want now? Said the flounder, and the flounder's eyes were yellow. Alas, said he, she wants to be like unto God. Well, go then to her now, and you will find her back in her pigsty, and there they are living to this day. So that's the end. That's the story. And when I was a kid, I remember thinking to myself, well, the poor guy, he caught the fish, and obviously, his wife pushed him to do all those things, and he seemed like a good guy, and he kind of was punished in the end along with her because they both ended up in the pigsty, and they did have a nice house, which was they should have been content with. But of course, the whole thing about wealth and power, a lot of people, no matter what they get, and you can see this a lot today in politicians that we have, and even celebrities, it's never enough. And I've often thought to myself, people, say you won a lottery and you won, $1 billion, which some of the lotteries are these days. Does one person or even one family need $1 billion? And I mean, obviously there are plenty of people that seem to think so, and they still strive for more and more. So it's never enough. To me, you need to give back to people, not just try to take and take. And I think we know what the sin of his wife was, because she kept wanting more and more until she strived to be like God. But the sin of the man, if you can call it sin, but his crime was really that he catered to what she wanted. He was weak, and I mean, he kept listening to her and adhering to her, the things that she wanted, and the incorrect, wrong things that she wanted. So his sin was really the being weak and following what she was asking him to do, which was obviously getting worse and worse and more wrong. So I mean, yeah, I like I said, as a kid, I kept thinking to myself, well, I mean, he really didn't do anything, but he did, if you really think about it. So I mean, it's sad for him, but I mean, you aid and abet somebody in their evil, you're just as guilty in the end. So, but anyway, I thank you for listening to my story. I hope you didn't think it was too lame or too ridiculous. I always thought of that as just being a children's story, but I've always remembered it all my life. One of my sisters has always spoke of that story and said how that was one of her favorite fairy tales as a child. I think it's a powerful story, and again, I mean, it's a timeless story, and we can all learn something from it, and never try to achieve more than what you should be trying to achieve, is the way I look at it. And don't be content with your life, it's great to improve, and but there's points where you see some people, and especially look at politicians that are, it's never enough. I see the stuff going on in Maui right now with the fires, and there's rich people that, I don't know how much of that's conspiracy or whatever about people grabbing land, but how much do you need if you're really wealthy? Isn't it ever enough? So that's the moral of the story, is be content, because you want to improve, but there's limits. So I thank you, and again, please like and subscribe if you would, and the subscriptions are really helpful. That's one of the hardest things to achieve when you're doing YouTube, and if you're trying to continue and you're trying to be able to achieve something, subscriptions are important. So please, if you would, subscribe, and the likes are extremely important. And as always, I welcome your comments too. Thank you very much. See you again next time.